Hello everyone, I am Arena International Master and FIDE instructor Rishikesh Chavan. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are organizing an online chess tournament for the students of Gurukul Chess Academy. As you can see, in just few seconds the tournament will start. Right now there are 37 players participating, and I hope there few more will join later on. So stay tuned with us, and I'll take you to all these interesting games. We are in the first round of this tournament organized by Gurukul Chess Academy. This tournament is only for the students of Gurukul Chess Academy. So let's go through the games. So we have Jogad, it's Advait Zog, and he's playing against Rushil. Then Kavya Vasa is playing against Mihir Naresh. Then we have Tiger 26, that's Shilpa Wag, she's playing against Kanaya Maurya. Then Aryav Karya playing against Nihal Baldava, and we have King of the Realm. That's Adhiraj Varik. He's playing against Cute Dolphin. So Cute Dolphin is Adya Patil, and we have Brown Girl playing against Sakshi Sahasrabudhe. So let's go through the games. Okay, so here Rushil has extra exchange with exchange up plus few pawns up. So that way it looks like Rushil is going to win this game. It shouldn't be much of a difficulty for Rushil to convert this advantage into a win. Let's go back in the lobby. Do we have any interesting game going on? Okay, let's check this game. So this game is between Kavya and Mihir. Kavya is black and Mihir is white. Kavya's pawn structure looks bit weak. There is a isolated pawn, then there is double isolated pawn. Yeah, and Mihir correctly attacking the weaknesses. On the other hand, Kavya's pieces are not well coordinated. I mean, this rook is stuck on f6. Knight is not doing anything on this h4, h5 square. So, and these two pieces are far away from these weak pawns. So there shouldn't be any problem for Mir to pick up this freebies and start pushing the pawn. Okay, bishop e3 is the correct move. After bishop e3, black can try knight into pawn, because if white captures pawn into knight, then black will get the bishop. But after bishop e3 and after knight into g3, white has a very nice move, which is king g2. So after king g2, black will definitely lose one of the pieces, and that way capturing the pawn right now is a blunder. So let's see what Meir plays. Let's move back in the lobby. Okay, four games remaining. Aryav and Nihal and king. Okay, let's see this game. This game is between Adhiraj and Adya. Adya has three extra pawns. Okay, so Adya got this outside passer, and at the same time she has these two double pawns on e file. Oh, it's a back rank. Oh, that's sad. Okay, so it looks like Adhiraj totally missed this back rank. He was more busy in recovering the pawns. Okay, hard luck, Adhiraj. Let's check this game between Aryav Karya and Nihal. Aryav is one pawn ahead. Okay, well played. Well played till now, Aryav. And he has a lot of pieces. I won't say lot of, but out of three, except excluding the king, out of three white pieces, two pieces are surrounding the black king. So black has to defend very carefully here. Yeah, though he should move this knight away. That's the only safe move. There's no sacrifice coming up, right? Yeah, no, he can't even try this. We will simply pick a capture by the rook. Mm, maybe something like this, keeping the knight connected, keeping the knight supported. White has to use his rook well. Right now, this rook on a3 is not doing much. So white should find a way to activate the rook. That rook must participate in the attack. Let's move back. Okay. So the position has simplified in the game between Advait and Rushil. Rushil is still holding his extra material, and Advait's king is exposed. There will be lots of pins coming up. There will be lots of pins coming up. There will be lots of checkmate threat coming up. Maybe you should try something like rook a8 and rook a2 check. Because after this rook a2 check, king is forced to go up, and then maybe you can try something like this check. Okay, this also wins. This is also an easy way to win. Simply promote the pawn, make a queen, and with a lot of extra material, win the game easily. Okay, so just a matter of few moves. Yeah, the simple move is queen f4 check, exchange the queens, and then this single knight won't be able to stop this pawn. Yeah, of course, Rushil is a strong player. Now he should win easily. Do we have anything interesting? Okay. It looks like the same thing happened, which I was explaining about this knight into g3 check. Let's go a little bit back and let's see. Yeah, so this is the position. He sacrificed king g2 and definitely lost the piece. So Kavya didn't calculate. He should have calculated. He had enough time left, right? But he didn't calculate it, and here he is definitely losing one of the pieces. So he saved the bishop here. He should have captured the bishop. This was a nice move, because then if he captures one of the piece, that means he definitely capture the rook, but then he will save the knight. Again, still it's losing, but at least black is just exchanged down. In the current position, as you can see, black is clearly a piece down. Is clearly a piece down. Is clearly a pawn down. He's going to lose this pawn as well. If the rook moves from the a7, he's going to lose the other pawn as well. So lots of problems happening. Okay, it looks like Nihal Arev has blundered his rook. Okay. Forced king h2. If the king goes, oh, okay, this will do. Okay, and then mate follows. Yes. Okay, so still two more games remaining. Right now there are 39 players participating. Few players may join. I'm not sure. Let's see. So right now, how many players are on 1 point? And 17, and maybe two out of this. So maybe 19 players will be on 1 point. They will be leading jointly. Swara Kotekar Patil, she joined late. That's why she got that draw. She got that half point. Oh, it's the black must save with this bishop. Even sorry, white must save his bishop. He can even play something like this. He can sacrifice the bishop. He has lot of pawns to promote, but it's always better to play safe. There is no need to show brilliancy unnecessarily. Many times, when you are winning easily, or when a player is winning easily, he chooses to show some brilliancy, and in the process, he miscalculates and then loses the winning game. So we should avoid doing such things. When you have a winning position, play calmly and make sure you convert that winning position into a full point. So you have discovered check, and of course she's losing the queen, losing the rook. I'm sorry. He can simply start pushing the pawn and make a queen, or he can start pushing the king ahead and he can create a mating net, and rook a8 will be a mate. Okay, this is the only game left, right? Okay, okay, yeah, and it's a mate. The second round will start in just few seconds. We are in the second round of this GCA's third online chess tournament. So let's go through the games. We have Aryan Ukidve playing against Vedant Bharadwaj. Then Tanish is playing against Rushil. Then we have striker 372, that's Adit Gupta. He is playing against Mihir. Then Vedant Parab is playing against Adya Patil. Then we have Sean Biju, he's playing against Nevan Gupta. And then we have Swara Kotekar Patil, she's playing against Sri Kamli. So let's go through the games. So this game is between Vedant and Aryan, and I guess Aryan has miscalculated and he lost his bishop. So I don't think it will be difficult for Vedant to convert this advantage into a win. Let's move ahead. Okay, let's see what do we have here between Rushil and Breadstrike. Material is equal. Mm, Tanish's pieces looks passive. Even this bishop is kind of misplaced on a6. Even white pieces are scattered, but white can easily coordinate the pieces because white had some space advantage in the middle. So it shouldn't be a problem for white to coordinate his pieces and launch a strong attack. Right now, black has to worry about the c6 pawn. Let's move ahead. Okay, let's check this game. Adit is white and Mihir is black. Oh, Mihir has lot of extra material. So he should win this game without any trouble. This is Vedant Parab and Adya. No, Parab is piece up. Great. So Vedant is playing very nicely. He has extra piece, and at the same time, he has some pressure against White's f2 pawn. So White has to find some way. But it looks difficult, of course. Uh, Rook g5 also coming up. So it will be very difficult for Adya to recover the material. Then we have Sean Biju. Sean is playing against Nevan. Nevan is also a very good player. But surprisingly, right now Sean is having three extra points, three extra pawns. It's a very strange looking position, like, right? Both the rooks are on H and G file, and King is still standing in the middle of the board. I don't know how come Nevan got this position on the board. So it will once the queens are exchanged, it will be difficult for Nevan to activate these two rooks. A good move. Forced this or this. If he goes over here, then queen into queen, pawn into queen, and knight f2 is a troublesome fork coming up. Okay, he should exchange the queens. Let's go in the lobby. Six more games going on right now. Arjun Singh, Dakshil, Garvil, and Nihal. These four players are leading the table with 2 points each. Let's check this game between Swara and Shri. Okay, Swara has lots of pieces. Oh, 16 of them. So there is a smothered mate coming up. I don't think Swara knows about smothered mate. So it's about knight f6 check, forced, king goes to h8, queen g8 check, compulsory rook has to capture the queen, and once rook is on g8 and king is on h8, knight f7 is checkmate. So smothered mate is not yet done. So okay, Swara playing nicely. She is using all her pieces to launch a strong attack against White's king, Black's king. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back in the lobby. Okay, okay. Only these five games are going on. Let's check this game again between Rushil and Tanish. Finally, Rushil got that weak pawn on at six e6, and he got exchange as well. That's a blunder, and he lost a piece. He should have captured with the bishop. So that lost pawn must have mm, shocked Tanish. That's why suddenly in just few moves he lost lots of material. Rushil is clearly a rook up and a pawn up, of course. Okay, five more games going on. So Adya's king is right in the middle of the board. Okay, and what do we have here? Okay, let's check this game. This game is more interesting than the other games. I mean, in the other games, uh, the game will over at any time, but it looks like this game will go on and on. Sean has 3 extra points, but now the problem is Sean has less time left, just 1 minute and few seconds on his clock, and he's fighting just with a queen. There is no coordination between his pieces. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just missed that Sean has blundered his rook, and now that 3 points advantage is gone, and Evan is pulling back this game nicely. So he got that knight. He got that extra pawn. Oh, that's nice. He should have captured with the queen, I guess. But yeah, fine. Rook into pawn is also nice. He can double the rooks, and once these rooks are supported, queen 8 will be a checkmate. So black has to be very careful. As you can see, both the rooks are not doing much. Yeah. Oh, he missed. And king into rook. Of course, he should have played rook c7 first, and then the checkmate would follow. But maybe because of time trouble, maybe because of over excitement of uh, giving a checkmate, he missed a simple calculation. Now it's very difficult for Sean to win this game. He was clearly winning. Three more games going on. So right now we have six players leading with 2 points. Then Swara is there with 1.5 point out of two. Let's check this game between Vedant Parab and Adya Patil. Vedant is maintaining his material advantage. Now he got one extra pawn. Rook d6 should be played. But then after rook d6, the best move for black is to play rook f6 to support this pawn indirectly. Oh, there is one more threat. Rook f2 check and rook into pawn. That way the pawn is protected. And at the same time, black got a free pawn. Oh, and Vedant missed that. Vedant should have given this check and pick up this free pawn on c2. Nothing much can be done from White's point of view. So there is no checkmate happening. So White shouldn't worry much if. Oh man, that's a blunder. Phew. So you can say it's a self blunder done by Adya. Horrible play, Adya. I don't know what Adya was thinking when she moved the king to h1. Check. Okay. And keep pushing the pawn ahead to remove this pawn, g2 pawn. Once the g2 pawn is removed, the white king will be more exposed, and at the same time, the h file will be opened. Maybe thinking about playing rook f1. Yes, rook f1 is a nice move. Oh, that wasn't necessary. You could have moved the queen to g3. So Devon is putting more pressure on Sean by playing quickly. So Devon has to be a bit careful. He shouldn't stalemate Sean's king. Let's move back. Okay. Tanish is still fighting, but as you can see, his pieces, Tanish is already material down, and his pieces are sitting on very weird squares. The king, queen is on a8, the bishop is standing on a6 since a long time. Of course, yeah, this can't be done. Rook e8 check. If he would have captured with the pawn, then there would be queen h7 checkmate. Then check and pick up this thing. Queen e6 check. King inside, and oh, can play something like this. Yeah, of course. So the idea is to play rook e3 f3, or you can play something like queen into pawn and then rook e8 mate. So that way, okay. But still, the checkmate is happening. Yes. Instead of capturing the pawn, white should have played queen d5, because then it was very difficult for black to stop this mate. Because after the queen e5, if he plays king f8, then queen d8 is mate. Sorry, queen d5. If he plays king f8, then queen d5 is mate. Okay, so maybe Rushil will play it cool. He will keep pushing the pawn, simply promote a queen, and then he will win. White cannot play king f8 again. Queen e8 is mate, and queen e8 is mate, of course. Yeah. So the second round is over. After two rounds, we have nine players sharing the lead with 2 points each. So third round will start in few minutes, few seconds. We are in the third round. So let's go through the games. Yeah, right now Vedant is playing brilliantly and he's leading the tally with 3 on 3. Okay, so we have Nihal playing against Mihir, Vedant Bharadwaj playing against Arjun, then Nevan playing against Rushil, then Garvil Poladia playing against Dakshil. Okay, then we have Aryan Nukidwe, he's playing against Sakshi Sahasrabudhe. Then Advait Jo playing against Sriram Kullali. So let's go through the games. And we have Aradhya Gavankar, he's playing against Adya. So we'll start with this game between Advait and Sriram. Okay, Sriram is a piece up and two pawns up. So there shouldn't be any problem for him to convert this into a win, provided he develops his pieces and uh, covers his king properly. Right now, his king is stuck in the middle of the board. He can't castle on the queen side, so he has to castle on the king side. But that way, he has to develop the knight first. Now there is a problem coming up. Ouch, that's painful. Bishop g4 looks strong, right? Ah, he missed. Should work. This should work. So here Sriram is definitely going to lose a piece. The best move here is castles. So Sriram is definitely dropping some material. He has to make sure to control the damage. He needs to calculate and see which is the best continuation where he will lose the minimum material. And I guess castling is the best way. Let's see. Let's check this game between Evan and Rushil. Okay, Rushil is piece up and a pawn up. Rushil has less time left on the clock, but that shouldn't make much difference. I think knight d3 is a nice move, disconnecting the queen from the defense of the king, and then he can play something like rook f6 in g6, rook lift to launch a strong attack against white king. Let's go back in the lobby. So at this moment we have three players sharing the lead with 3 points each. Okay, this game is between Aryan Kidwe and Sakshi Sahasrabudhe. Right now Sakshi is pawn up, and plus Aryan's king is stuck in the middle of the board, which is a big concern for him because all these open files and major pieces surrounding the white king is very risky. Ah, Sakshi should have played this. Create a mating net around the king, but she just happy in gobbling a few free pawns. Slowly, white will consolidate his position. So black has to be careful because queen is on the seventh rank. Rooks are doubled on the e file. The only problem for white right now is king in the middle of the board. Okay, what's happening on the top board? Not exactly a top board, but okay. Mir is pawn up, and Mir has created a lot of pressure on this f7 pawn. Mir should have pushed the pawn ahead. That would make black to move the rook away, and then Mir would get the f7 pawn. Not only f7 pawn, but maybe the a7 pawn as well. So he should push the pawn ahead. Maybe Mihir wants to preserve this pawn for the end game, where once the rooks are exchanged, he can push the pawn and promote the pawn into a queen. Right now, it's not happening. Right now, these two rooks are controlling the back rank, the eighth rank. So that pawn is definitely not going to promote. Pawn push. He should do pawn push first. And if he plays rook d8, then rook into pawn. Yeah, of course. Good move by Mihir. Yeah, again a good move by Nihal as well. Here white can. Oh, okay, great. Pawn into, rook into, king into, and queen promote. Okay, the same with same threat. If pawn into rook, then rook into rook check, force king into rook, and pawn promotes. So nice tactics Mir got here. This tactics earned him two free pawns, e6 and g6. Very good, Mir. This is what happens when you defense passively. Nihal was defending very passively. Rook sitting on both this passive squares. King is stuck in the on g7. Okay, let's move ahead. Four games remaining of the third round. Okay, we have Brown Girl. I think Brown Girl is Shraddha, and she is playing against Tiger 26. Tiger 26 is Shilpa, I guess. Okay, so right now Shilpa is having lots of extra material. 17 of those pieces. Great. So move the bishop anywhere, and there will be a check. Oh. So black is just happy munching the material. Check and a double attack. The rook is lost. Knight is lost. But I doubt whether Shilpa will find it or not. She should. Yeah, she didn't. She found this discovered attack, but she couldn't find this double attack. Queen f3 check, forced, and rook d1 mate. Oh, it was a mate directly. Yeah, I totally missed. King cannot come up. Oh, great, great. Well done, Shilpa. Three more games remaining. Okay, let's see this game between Aradhya and Adya. Adya is pawn up, but as usual, Adya is low on time. It is opposite color bishop. So that way, even after having a pawn, it will be very difficult for Adya to convert this into a win. Good move by Aradhya. So it's better to exchange the rooks. That way, it will be much more easier for White to defend this position with one less pawn. Black is trying his best. So now he'll play rook c3. So White should play something like rook e3. One more thing black can try. Black can play a4, a5, and once he achieved this, he can play bishop to f6, and then rook a1 will be a checkmate. So black should try and create a mating net around white's king, as white's king is already cornered. Let's go to the lobby and check this game between Sean and Aryav. Okay, Sean has three extra points. So the Aryav has three extra points. I'm sorry. Right now, Sean, both the bishops are stuck here. Here, instead of this pawn push, Sean should have played the center pawn, that's G pawn. Center pawn compared to these three pawns, not about this center. So after G4, still there is no way he can get the bishop outright, and it will be very slow. I mean, he can capture, then he can capture this pawn. Okay, pawn push. Pawn push should work. Yeah, of course. Bishop into H2. Bishop into H2 is forced. Oh, he should have played bishop into S2 first, because then there is no way black can stop this pawn from promoting. Okay, Arya pushed the pawn ahead, so it will be difficult for Sean to stop that pawn now. It's almost impossible. Okay, let's check this game between Aradhya and Cute Dolphin. That's Adya Patil. Adya is still holding on to her extra pawn, but Aradhya is defending well. A5. A5 shouldn't work, because what happens after A5 is A5, rook B5, the bishop is kind of pinned. Yeah, king F6 is fine, and this game should end in a draw. Okay, Adya is in serious time trouble now. There was no need to move the bishop away, because as the bishop is on dark square, and white has white square bishop. Adya should be a bit careful here, because later on, what white will try, for example, a6, and if black plays something like bishop b6, then white will sacrifice the rook into bishop, pawn into this, and then pawn push. uh, and Adya started making all the wrong moves in time pressure. That is why this a5 was required. Even this is a wrong move. She should have played something like this. So whenever this pawn is under attack, black can defend the pawn by playing rook f7. Now after this move, after rook b7, it's very difficult for black to defend the pawn on a7. Once that pawn falls, white will win. Yes, of course. You can't push the pawn ahead because moving the pawn on white square is bit risky, as white already have a white square bishop and the pawn falls. Yes, Arab they recovered his extra pawn, but now and he has an outside passer on the a file. Attack the bishop, of course. If check, king goes inside, and it is no check position. And then he can start pushing the pawn ahead. And as you can see, the queening square is white square, which is controlled by white bishop strongly. So it is going to be very difficult for for black to defend against this pawn. He has to play something like rook to a3 and then bishop to d4. But then now the difficulty is losing the bishop. Oh, it's a blunder, I guess. Check. Yes, and that was the blunder Adya needed. Check again, and in the skewer, the rook is lost. Oof. That is why when your opponent has less time left and you have enough time left on the clock, you should take your own time. Here, maybe Aradhya was more interested in playing quickly, so he didn't want to give more time to Adya to think. But this was totally counterproductive. King up. Again, these unnecessary checks allowed white king to come closer to the pieces. So here black should have developed his king up. Move the king up. That's the only way you are going to win. Because when black sacrifices the rook for the bishop, king must be active. Here black cannot outrun white on the timer. It's black who has less time left on the clock. Still, she's not getting this king f4 move. King f4 is the only winning move because even after king f4, black can even play g5, g4, and the that way she can create a passer on the h file. Yeah, finally she got it. Pawn push, pawn push. Okay, check and push the king back on the last rank. Yes, of course. And now push the pawn ahead. Yes, pawn into pawn and pin. Yes, now this should be an easy win for black. That was horrible mistake by Adya. So this is what happens when you are in time trouble. You start playing horrible chess. Rook into pawn. She missed rook into pawn as well. This is getting funny. There is 5 seconds increment, and 5 seconds increment is a lot. King up. Yeah, of course. Now there is a mating net created around white king. Rook b1 check. Bishop in the middle, and rook into d1 should be a mate. Finally, finally. Yeah, it's a mate. So let's go and see. Okay, we have five players sharing the lead with 3 points each, and the fourth round will start in just few seconds. We are in the fourth round of this tournament. So let's go straight to the games. Okay, we have Vedant Parab playing against Arjun, and Arjun has two queens. So Arjun is going to win in just few moments. Then we have Vedant Bharadwaj is playing against Rushil. Then, uh, okay, striker that is Adit Gupta is playing against Adya. Then we have Tanish is playing against Nihal. Then we have Advait playing against Arnav. Then we have Sean playing against Aryan. Then Aryav playing against Shilpa. And then we have Suyog Hedao playing against Kavya. Let's go through the games. So we'll check this game first. Vedant against Rushil. Both the players are strong players. Both the players are rated players. They have an international rating. So let's see what's the situation. Material is equal. It's minor piece difference right now. Bishop against knight. White has an IQP, that is isolated queen pawn. And now here white is threatening d5. So there's a discovered attack on g7, and queen into g7 will be a checkmate. After pawn push, black can even play knight f5, giving extra support to this pawn, or he can straight away play knight to d5. Knight to d5 is a better move. So keeping your knight in front of isolated pawn is always nice. Knight is very strong on d5, controlling lots of important squares in the white's area. And at the same time, the knight will keep this d4 pawn on its place, and that way the bishop on b2 will remain bad. Knight d5 first, and then okay, now he got a chance to play this. White should play d5 now, because once the rooks are exchanged and once black is able to play knight to d5, then it will be very difficult for white to activate this bishop. Let's move back to the lobby and check other games as well. Okay, only six games remaining. Right now we have Arjun Singh and Mihir Naresh sharing the lead with 4 points each. Let's check this game between Adya and Striker. Adya is pawn up, but she should be very careful because there is a pin coming up. Yeah. Oh, she's in a difficult position right now because the bishop can move anywhere and there's a discovered check coming up. Yeah, of course. And Adya's game is gone. She has to move the king maybe on g1 or g2, and that way uh, rook g4 is lost. Let's move back. Let's check this game. Okay, we have checked this game, right? Okay, we are checking this game. So this game is between Nihal and Tanish. Nihal is white, and he right now he is exchange up. But let's see whether Tanish can make use of his minor pieces. Right now his queen is under attack. He may think about playing. Yeah, this looks safe. I was thinking about queen f5 or queen g6, keeping the queen active on this diagonal. But it's better to keep the queen mm, safe. White is trying to find a way to use this discovered attack, but there is none. But he can definitely play something like queen a7, putting pressure on this hanging knight. If the knight moves, then queen into a7 is possible. Even if the knight doesn't move, knight into a7 is possible. That way the rooks will be exchanged. So I think he should play queen a7 here. Let's move back. Let's move back. Oh, only 4 games remaining. Okay, we have Suyog Hedao. Suyog is playing against Kavya. Kavya is piece up, but for that lost piece, lost knight, Suyog has two connected passers. So Kavya has to be very careful here because it is difficult for a knight to stop two connected passers. He can give queen b2 check and exchange the queens and go into the endgame. Yes. Moving the king to e7 even is a blunder. Oh god, and he missed. This is what happens when you play quickly. Where you have to spend time, you have to spend time. And now it's a clearly lost. Lost queen into queen is mate. And he missed the mate as well. I don't know what these guys are doing and why they are playing so quickly. Still mate is happening. it's, it's it's such a punishment to see your students missing such a simple mate just for the sake of playing quickly. Phew. Let's go back. Let's watch some better game. Is there any? You can concentrate on the top board. Oh, Vedant has managed to win 2 points, 2 pawns. Okay, logical. Black Black wanted to exchange the queens, but logically, White shouldn't exchange the queens. And Rushil blundered, and the queen got exchanged by force. And now Vedant is going to win easily. activate the king, push the passer. So in the end game, you have to use the king. King is a very powerful piece. King is just like a mini queen. And there should be a zugzwang very soon. So once all the pawn moves run out, then if it's white's move, then white has to move back, and that way black will enter. And if it's white's turn, sorry, if black's turn, then black has to move the king back, and that way he will lose the pawn. So it's all about zugzwang now. Hmm, okay. Vedant has his extra move here, a6. So very soon Rushil will run out of his pawn moves. He should play g4 now. Yeah, of course. He shouldn't capture, because in that way f into g4, h into g4, and then white can create a passer on the f file. Still black is losing. Still black is winning. I'm sorry, because king is close to this passer on f file, and at the same time black will have a passer on the h file. It is an outside passer. And now Vedant should win. Okay, that's the only game left. Okay. So right now we have two players leading the table with 4 points each, Mihir and Arjun, and most probably they will be playing against each other in the fifth round. And then we have one, two, three, four, five, six or seven players sharing the second spot with 3 points, 3 points each. Yeah, let's see. There is a very good chance of Vedant stalemating Rushil, because Vedant likes to play very quickly, and then he plays all silly moves. But I think he should handle this well, right? Oh, he, Rushil should have played King B1. Okay, this should end in a checkmate very soon. Okay, so the fourth round got over. The fifth round will start in just few seconds. We are in the fifth round of this event. So nine more games are going on. Mir has won against Arjun, and now Mir is the sole leader with five out of 5 points. And Arjun and Rushil, they are jointly second with 4 points each. Let's go through the games. So we have Vedant Bharadwaj playing against Vedant Parab, and Vedant Bharadwaj is having two extra pawns, and he should convert these pawns into a win easily. He's getting one more pawn here on h3. Rook comes to d3, and then there is no way black can save his pawn. Let's move back to the lobby. So we have RV Keter, it's Arnav. Arnav playing against Swara. Arnav is piece up and pawn up. But if you check the position, then because of this pawn structure, there are almost no white piece on the king side to defend the king. Now white should find some way to line up her pieces in these two files, But it looks difficult because there's already some pressure on this d file, on this d6 pawn. So it will be difficult for white, for black, I'm sorry. Let's move back. Then we have Aryev playing against Tanish. Tanish is again a piece up and a pawn up. And there is a backward pawn here on d6. And Tanish rightly is pressurizing that pawn. Also, the backward pawn is on the open file. That makes the matter worse for black. Oh, it's a free pawn. Great. Pawn into pawn or even rook into pawn is fine. So Tanish should get one more pawn, and now he has 5 extra points. He should win easily. So few more games have completed, and now we have 5 players sharing the second spot with 4 points each. These 5 players are Arjun Singh, Vedant Bharadwaj, Rushil Darji, Nihal Baldawa, and Sriram Kullali. Let's check this game between Shri Kambli and Shilpa Wagh. Okay, right now Shilpa Wagh is having lots of extra material, and very soon it looks like White's king will be checkmated. So Black should win this game without any trouble. Then we have Suyok Hedao playing against Adish Donde. Suyok is white, but right now Adish is double piece up. He has 2 minor pieces against those 2 tiny pawns. The only problem for Black is that Black's king is stuck on this F8 square, and all the shelter is blown out. Okay, but still Adish should hold this position properly with his extra 2 pieces. He should be able to build a strong defense. Let's move back in the lobby. Not many games remaining, only 4 of them. So let's check this game between Aryan Ukidve and Adya Patil. Okay, Adya is exchange up. Okay, let's see what is happening. Oh, okay. There is a pin on this d6 pawn. So black has to capture the bishop, or at least black should play something like queen e7, or else bishop into bishop is a free piece. So black won't be able to capture because black will lose the queen. So in this position, it looks like queen e7 is the only move. If knight d5, uh, queen e7 should have been played because still there is a pressure on this pawn. Now there is a pressure on the f7 as well. Also, white can play e5. So there are lots of moves coming up, and now slowly black's position is getting passive. Once this knight is moved away from a c7 square, knight d5 is a very strong move. Knight d5 is giving many knight forks and many important squares he's covering in black's area. So even after having extra material, this position looks very difficult for black. Of course, he can't capture. He can capture actually, because after pawn into pawn, if rook into queen, pawn into queen. But then there follows rook into b7 as well. Knight d5 forced. No, not d5. I'm so sorry. Bishop b3 and then knight d5. Let's go to the lobby and see if any more games going on. Okay, 3 more. Shri is still fighting hard and to save his checkmate. and it looks like Shilpa Wag is finding it difficult. She's a new player. Even Shri is a new player, so they are improving their basic skills. Okay, let's check this game between Suyog and Adish. Okay, now few sets of pieces are exchanged, and Adish is now having a three healthy lead of 3 points, and the threat is Rook G8. Rook G8 should win the game. No, Rook G8 can't be played, right? Straight away Queen into Rook. I'm so sorry. I was thinking about pinning because White won't be able to play Knight into as a queen hangs. But of course, he won't capture with the knight, right? He will straight away capture with the queen. Hmm. It's difficult to move the knight away because then discord attack will come. Black needs to find some way to use these two pieces. Right now, these two pieces are absolutely doing nothing, and that is why even after having one extra piece, Black's position looks a bit weak. White is looking for the best square for the knight to give discovered check. I think there isn't any strong square for the knight, right? So the discord attack just seems dangerous, just feels dangerous, but it's not that dangerous. We'll simply move the king on the other side of the board. Maybe king c8, maybe even king c6. Yes, king c6, and everything is fine. Okay. Of course, c8 looks more safer compared to c6, but on c6, this rook would be connected with the this other major pieces, and on c6 it looks almost impossible to defend the king, to attack the king for white. Here, white is actually helping black to move his king into the safety by giving these unnecessary checks. When there is an easy check available, you shouldn't waste that check. You should keep that check and look for other weakness. Look if you can create one more weakness, and that way, combining that check with the weakness, you can give a double attack, or you can at least create some tactics. So if opponent's king is exposed, do not waste that check by giving just a random attack on the king. And this should be curtains for white because he lost a queen. Okay. Okay, Arnav has won his game against Swara. Okay, let's check this game. Aryan and Cute Dolphin. Cute Dolphin got the pawn for free. How come? Okay, she captured. Okay. Now, uh, Black is already winning. Black just have to coordinate his pieces, and everything will be fine. So, Knight f6 should be played here. Yeah, of course. So this Knight f6 will limit the scope of this White's knight. King g7, moving the king up, and at the same time moving the king away from the all the back rank checks. It's always better to move the king from the square uh, where he can be attacked easily. From this knight's reach, the king is within the striking range. Not right now, but sooner or later. Again, white has white square bishop, so it's always better to move the king away on the dark square. That way, this bishop won't give any check to the king. And one more additional advantage is that king is defending this knight, which is attacked twice right now and defended only once. Still, king g7 works. There is no need to over calculate. So when you over calculate, you don't even mess up the simple combination or simple calculation, but at the same time you are wasting your precious minutes and seconds on your clock. There is already having less than a minute left on her clock, and this time trouble may make her a bit nervous and she may make some mistakes. Okay, queen into a6 should work. Hmm, that's interesting. RFC8. RFC8 was better. This rook is any which way not doing much on this F8 square. Finally, queen into A6. Now to save this pawn, black should play B4 just to create some doubts in white's mind. Nothing harmful is happening after B4. White can simply move the knight away. He can move it to here or here. Yeah, it's not a checkmate yet. Many pieces can block the attack very easily. Let's go in the lobby before we come back to this game. Okay, this is the only game left, right? Okay, how many players we have on the 4 point? Okay, 5 players. Then there is Arnav with 3.5 points. Okay, and many more on 3 points. Let's go back to this game. Adya is seriously on time travel. When you are time travel, you have to just okay pawn push before you must create some doubts in your opponent's mind. And Adya lost her knight. She still has to play pawn push. Pawn push really works. When you want to launch an attack against opponent's king, you need to open the lines. Unless and until you open the line, it won't work. Oh, missed. It was a free bishop. White should have played bishop d5, putting more pressure on this f7 pawn. Both the players are in time trouble. Still pawn push is very strong because after pawn into pawn, rook a8 and the queen falls. Check. Okay, capture, capture, double the rooks or challenge the rook on the open d file, and everything is fine. That's called greed. Pin the knight, rook d8, d8, rook d7, and the knight is gone. Phew. I know they are in time trouble, but they should see this move. They are good players. They're not beginners. They are playing all silly chess. Attack the knight first. Once the knight moves, then put the rook on the a file. There is no way you can simply block. He should have captured with the pawn because now black cannot save the pawn. Why didn't he capture the pawn for free? Okay. It's funny when people are in time trouble, they start playing all silly moves. Now the g6 pawn falls and white missed. White is more worried about that pawn getting promoted. It is getting promoted, and white is slow. White should have played one and two and block, which is not, which is now impossible. Yes, of course. Sacrifice the exchange. So there's always playing till the last second, and in the skewer the rook is gone. Yes, of course. Capture the pawn, and then black can never lose on time. Okay, white resigned. Nothing was left there. Okay, the last round coming up in just few seconds. We are in the last round of this GCA's third online chess tournament organized by Gurukul Chess Academy. So let's go through the games. So after 5 rounds, we have Mihir Naresh leading the table with 5 points each. So in the last round, he's playing against Rushil Darji. Then we have Sriram Kullali playing against Arjun Vasudev, that's Arjun Singh. Then Nihal playing against Vedant Bharadwaj. Then we have Tanish, he's playing against Adya. Then Mix, that's Shaurya. Shaurya is playing against Vedant Parab. And then we have Aradhya Gavankar, he's playing against Swara Kotekar Patil. So let's go through the games. So this is the game which will decide the winner of today's event. If Mihir draws or Mihir wins this game, then he will be the winner. He will be the sole winner. He doesn't. He won't be. You won't have to depend on the tie breaks. Right now we are just in the opening phase. White yet to castle. Black c8 bishop looks horrible. I don't know how come this pawn structure black got on this board, man. It's some weird opening they played. So let's move back. What's happening between Arjun and Sriram? Yeah, Arjun is already a piece up and he should win this game easily. Arjun Singh is a very strong player. Once he gets some advantage, he will never let that advantage slip out of his hand. So that way, it will be a bit difficult for Sriram to defend his position. Let's move back. What's happening in Nihal and Vedant's game? Material is equal. Vedant is playing quickly as usual. So there is a big chances that he is going to blunder something because he normally he normally does. I don't know why there is a need to play so quickly. So white is having this backward pawn on c4, but on the other hand, even black's b7 pawn doesn't look very strong. But there are no rooks, right? So there is no way white can put more pressure on these two pawns. Let's go to the lobby. We have Tanish playing against the Adya. Material is equal. It looks like Adya has lined up his major pieces on the wrong file. E file is closed, so there is no point in lining up the pieces on E file. Adya should have lined up the pieces on D file instead. Of course, there is a pressure on E4, but then Adya could have played F3. Okay, let's go back. Okay, then we have Aradhya playing against Swara. Right now, Aradhya is piece up, but Swara is doing her best to hold the fort. There is a threat coming up for white. It is bishop into h6. It's a temporary piece sacrifice. Bishop into h6, g into h6, and then rook into f6. But white has a counter sacrifice. Black has a counter sacrifice. I'm sorry. After bishop into h6, black can go ahead with knight into e4. Oh, okay. It was difficult for Swara to find this because Swara hasn't learned these topics yet. See, this queen is sitting on a very passive square. If you want to launch an attack, you need your pieces on the best possible squares. That way, white should play something like queen d1 so that this queen can be used uh, actively. Queen can be brought on the king side to launch an attack. Let's move back to the lobby. Okay, Arjun Singh has won that game. Now he's on 5 points. Let's check this game between Adhiraj and Kavya. Kavya is having lots of extra pieces. Okay, he has one piece plus three extra pawns. So this is too much for Adhiraj to recover, and it looks very difficult for Adhiraj to recover this much material. And Kavya should win this game easily. Okay, then we have Sai. Sai playing against Tiger 26. That's Shilpa Wag. Shilpa Wag is white and Sai is black. Right now, Shilpa is having an extra bishop, but for that lost piece, Sai has two pawns. So we can say Shilpa is just 1 point ahead, and Sai has this strong pawn on c2, which can be promoted very easily. Right now, Shilpa is doing her best to hold that pawn, to stop that pawn. But later on, moves like bishop d3 or bishop a5, and the pawn will be gone in no time. This isn't a good move. because black can play queen into queen, f into queen, and then rook into e4. So that way, black was getting a free pawn, but black missed. Black didn't calculate properly, and it's a huge blunder made by white. Yeah, bishop is lost. That is why when you have enough time left on the board, ouch. Okay, something strange happened here, right? Okay, nevertheless, what do we have in king and Kavya? Okay, Kavya has a bishop and extra pawns. He should win. Then cute dolphin, and let's see what happened in this game. Material is equal. Surprisingly, Adya is having more time than Tanish. Normally, in all the games, Adya was in time trouble, but here Tanish has taken more time than Adya. I guess King H2 should work here. The idea is first play King H2 and then F4, Knight move to G6 and then G3. So all these pawns will keep these two pieces, that is Rook and Knight, away from the action. Both the pieces will be placed passively. White can play f4 right away, but then after knight to g6, there is no time for king h2 because this f4 pawn is attacked twice. Yeah, very good, well played. She can even play. She can't play this right now because, of course, this horrible skewer, knight fork is coming up. That is why first kick the knight away, and then g3 should work. Let's check the let's check the game on the top board. Oh, Mir is pawn up. Okay, and he's getting a piece as well. Simple f5 and the bishop is lost. Yes, now it should be curtains for black. Let's move back. Many of our rated players couldn't participate in this event because of their other commitments. That's why we are having less players. So right now we have three players sharing the lead, 5 points each. Mir's game is still going on. So if Mir wins this game, which looks like he's going to win the game. So if he wins this game, then Mir will be the sole leader with 6 out of 6. And then I guess Arjun Singh will be the second with 5 points because Arjun Singh is having better tiebreak compared to other players. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Rushil sacrificed a bishop for a pawn. He was expecting white to capture with the pawn. That way he will get this bishop. But he instead of this he should have played queen into pawn. Queen into pawn was a better option. The major pieces, both the rooks are not doing much. So it's very difficult for white. So for black, I'm sorry, for black to generate some counter attack. If he tries opening up the positions, and that will be favorable for white because white has a bishop pair, and white has two knights. So it's like, if you have knights, then you should keep the position blocked, and if you have bishops, then you should open the position. So that way, black will be in confusion what to do, whether to keep the position blocked or open it. If he keeps the position blocked, then his rooks are of no use, and if he opens the position, then maybe his knight won't be that useful. If we check the head-to-head results, then Rushil has won both the games against Mihir till now. So if Mihir wins this game, this will be the first win for Mihir against Rushil. Let's go back to the lobby. Just two games are going on. One is of course between Mihir and Rushil, and then we have Tanish playing against Cute Dolphin. Yeah, Cute Dolphin should win this game because she already has lot of extra material, precisely one knight and a pawn, so that makes 4 points. And Tanish rook is stuck on h4; it's not doing much. At the same time, Adya can use his rook on the open b file, open d file. I'm sorry, and then this isolated pawn on d6 should fall very soon. And here she is interested in exchanging the pawn. Okay, no worries. Exchanging the rooks. Force rook into rook, rook into rook, and maybe we'll go for this skewer to exchange the rooks. And once all the rooks are gone, again the good move is to play knight b6 and then move the knight to d5. d5 is a very strong player. It's a very strong square. This should also work. Going to d5, you even knight f5 looks nice. Knight f5 is much better because of rook into rook, rook into rook, and now white is threatening rook h8 mate. White Black must develop, get the king out, because once white plays knight f5, it will take lot of time for black to get the king out. Still check. Yes, force either g6, that is on the sixth rank, or on g8, but not on f8, as rook h8 will be checkmate. So it's nice to see they're not in a time trouble just for a change. Check, yeah, of course, king e5, king f3, supporting the pawn first. But after king to f3, black will play f6, and then this rook won't be doing much on the sixth rank. So then white will have to relocate the rook. This is again not a very nice move. If you can capture extra pawns by keeping your pawn safe, then it's good. So that is why Adya should have played king f3 first. Now, as these two lines are closed, Adya will have to maneuver his rook from the seventh rank. Yeah, good move, Adya. Tanish is finding it very difficult to coordinate his pieces, because right now this rook is not doing much. c3 forced. Okay, this should also work. But then he will play rook to c4, putting more pressure on this pawn. Oh, sorry, rook c4 is not working. Yeah, so that way we can say knight e3 is a good move, defending everything. Okay, so maybe he's trying to play rook c5 and rook into pawn. b3 idea. If he plays rook c5, then white can play rook c4. So it's a check. This is under attack. The a5 is defended. So b3 is a good move. But the problem is after b3, black will try something like rook to c3, pinning the pawn, pinning the knight. But it's just a pin, nothing bad is happening. Oh, okay, he can play this move later on, right? Okay. So I guess this is the nice move. Rook a7 and then, yeah, of course, and then attack the pawn. If he plays rook c5, then comes b3. Again, there is no need to play b3, right? Because after rook c5 and rook into a5, he can simply give a knight fork on c4. Rook on a7. Ooh, there was no need to do that. Rook on a7 was better. Tanish is in serious time trouble. King e3. King e3 creating a mating net. And then rook e7 would be a checkmate. Now rook to a7. Okay, that would also do. Ouch. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, but rook e6 should hold because there is no way white can attack the rook, right? So play rook e6, move the king away, and now both the pieces are free to move. Yes, of course. Whenever your piece is pinned, it's always better to unpin the piece as quickly as possible. Again, okay, move the king away. You can even capture the pawn, but I guess unpinning the knight is most important right now. Because after the knight is unpinned, knight d7 is a serious four coming up. Yeah, this is also fine. Okay, rook into a6. Or is this a checkmate? No, sorry, king will move over here. Uh, they allowed black to move his king on near to the pawn. She should have captured the pawn. So when you are getting something extra, you should capture it, especially when you have less time left on the clock. You should not complicate the things. You can play something like pawn push. Okay, yeah. So not pawn push. King ahead. King e5. King e5 and then push, push, push. Knight d5. It's funny when you have time trouble. Again, this wasn't necessary. She should have played this check. Again, unpin the knight as quickly as possible. Okay, there's a mating net coming up. B3 and knight B3 mate. Yes. If rook D2, then knight E3. Knight E3 blocks everything. Oh, knight C4 was much easier, right? Yes. Just pick up the rook, promote the queen, and checkmate will follow. Let's go to the lobby. Is this the only game? Yeah, this is the only game left. Yeah, and Mir has won his game, won his last game. So right now Mir is leading the table with 6 points out of 6 with 100% score, and the tournament is over. So well played, everyone. So we at Gurukul Chess Academy keep such online tournaments on regular basis so that our students can practice regularly and we can check their progress as well. I hope you enjoyed this event. Thank you so much, everyone.